Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guest today is Ed Boyington. He's the president and chief executive officer of Vertex, and I'm Tom Temin. And Ed, let's talk about the industry itself, the training, sustainment, life cycle solution industry that you're part of. There's been some change there as driven by the change in government requirements, and that change has come to your company. Tell us
Yes,
what's changed and why.
sure. No, I'd be happy to. Yes, as of the 6th of December, we actually closed on an opportunity with Raytheon as they carved out a piece of their business, or really their sustainment and modernization piece of the business, as well as their defense and commercial training piece of the business, and made them part of Vertex. And as Vertex, we're Vertex Aerospace. We're now the Vertex company to reflect the new capabilities we have beyond the aerospace. It was a very opportune time for us. Quite frankly, we had been looking for a long time. We were a pure play services business, CLS business. What I mean by that is aviation maintenance, training, logistics piece of that, primarily for the DoD and some three-letter agencies. But for us, we're really looking for adjacency and yet not too far afield in the defense industry. And it really came down to the other pieces of life cycle support and sustainment. The other elements of that, if you will, I think we talked at one time, if you really look at the elements of after you build something, there's about 12 elements. I won't go into those, but we were operating in about 4 of those elements. So having an opportunity now to pick up modernization, sustainment, the engineering piece of it, gives us 9 of the 12. And those were the 9 we really wanted to be able to bring to our customer, a fully vertically integrated aftermarket support organization and solutions offering. So this was a great opportunity for us. And as a result, we talked earlier about, where we see our customers going and where the pressure points are for them in the future. And this was a perfect fit for us.
Well, really, when you talk about training, talk about sustainment, talk about modernization, talk about engineering and re-engineering, it's really a continuum, and they're not separate elements because you can't change a system without making sure people are trained on it and so on.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, that's if we look at the organization and where we're set up now, we have the support of the training elements such as the aircraft. We now have the capabilities and the contracts and the proven capabilities, if you will, both commercial, using commercial really as a technical flywheel of technology to incorporate now, bring into some of our DoD training as well. We have the capability to do that, to train on new systems. And now we also have the capability through our Indianapolis organization to do a very high level engineering, rapid prototyping for DoD. As we found in the past, when you have a legacy platform, you'll have rapidly changing threats, and you've got to produce something, make it relevant, keep it relevant. And we have the capability there to take everything from initial concept through the engineering phase, build it there, field it, test it, field it, and operate it, train to it, operate it in the field, and retire it at some point and modernize again. So that cycle that you just talked about, we now have all the pieces within our organization to support our customer and give them a solution in all of those different areas.
Is it accurate to say that that whole cycle of needing the update, getting it prototyped, tested, built, et cetera, in production, training people on it, that's moving a lot faster, isn't it, these days?
It is. It absolutely is. The technology is, in staying up with it, that cycle is a lot tighter now than it used to be.
And in acquiring these types of products and services, and it's kind of hard to separate the products and the services in many ways, because once you prototype something, maybe that's a service, but then if you need to buy 10,000 copies, that's a product. And so
That's right.
what are the vehicles, what are the buying methodologies that you feel best serve the government in getting effective use of its dollars in buying these complicated, complex systems?
That's a complicated question in many respects. And then the contracting vehicles, we've operated always in the normal O&M, the operational funding within DoD, which would be the training and sustainment piece of it. The modernization engineering piece of it gets to be more on the acquisition side. And the DoD is moved in many different areas now in their contracting, really to streamline and speed it up. And I know we've heard that for years and years and years, that streamlining the acquisition process. But there are tools now, other transactional authorities, OTAs, they call them, different tools now that the government's using to try to maintain an acquisition process to be exactly what you mentioned a minute ago. That loop is tighter now. You've got to introduce that technology, get it in the field and be operating with it and training it. And you've got to do that in a much closer cycle now, a tighter cycle than you used to. And that means the acquisition process has to be there too. And there a lot of the tools now, a lot of the indefinite quantity type acquisitions, whether they do a competition, a multi-award type competitions, to neck down the amount of time on awards once they award on task orders within that. So there is a real transformation, I think, within DoD and their acquisition process as well that we're seeing.
And with respect to acquiring, say, as an example, training services, what are the best metrics that the government should use to make sure that they ensure what they get? What should go into the requirements once they have an acquisition strategy?
It depends. If you're using metrics for readiness, it's for instance, in the aircraft business, in the training business, it's aircraft ready for training. That's a single metric they care about. All the other metrics that build up to that to provide that aircraft are important, but it's really that one metric. So, I think from the services standpoint, if it's within the Army, it's certainly a unit readiness, a level of readiness, combat readiness, and they have their measurements there. So very complex, but there are single measurements, and it's really, when it all comes down to it, it's all about readiness, being prepared to defend this country if we have to be in that position.
And what kinds of signals do you get when you actually speak with the program managers, the officers, and so forth over these programs? What do they tell you beyond requirements and specifics of contracting, what their real concerns are? I guess that would be readiness also.
It absolutely is. It's always, we need it faster. We need it more affordable, not necessarily cheaper, but more affordable. And then we've got to maintain this level of readiness. We can't slip into readiness. All of those are combined. I think the first two kind of feed the third one, the readiness levels out there. That's one of the things that is very attractive about this acquisition and where we are now, because we like to say we're small enough to be agile and large enough to be global. And as a company right now, we're still in that sweet spot where we're not too big, too bureaucratic. So we can be very responsive to the customer, very customer focused, not just customer focused, customer committed.
Got it. And you do have a commercial side to the business. And
We do.
the commercial aerospace industry is, nothing to sneeze at. And so to
Yeah.
what degree is there crossover between needs, requirements, trends in commercial and in government? And can commercial learn from what's going on in government and vice versa?
Um, Commercial training right now for us, for the piece of the business we have currently, it's more focused on the automotive side, on telemedicine, and that training. Again, high consequence type training. From the aerospace side, they really have not gone into that business. Certainly, we're going to look at it, the cross feeding of that. We're looking at it immediately, as I'd mentioned before, on DoD, on maintenance training and maintainers, and whether they're working on an airplane, on a high quality vehicle, the training is pretty much going to be the same. So for us, we see that immediate synergy, if you will, within our organization. But absolutely, I think there's more because of the speed in the economy, the economies of the commercial business. They're more of a flywheel feeding the DoD and the government side of training, certainly within our organization, than vice versa. Although there's certainly some things to be learned from the defense side as well.
But in essence, then the learnings and the investments made on commercial side kind of get it staged so that you can offer it in a competitive manner to the government side.
Absolutely. We talk about our commercial side as our technology incubator, if you will, and the flywheel of technology to feed the defense side.
All right. And well, what else would you tell the federal customer at this point, that what do they need to know about where all of these trends are heading with respect to
Sure.
the integration of training and prototyping and modernizing and sustaining?
Well, if I was going to tell our customers, and we do, and we are every day, is that, we as a company right now realigned ourselves. Anybody can buy scale. We needed to have diversity and scale in our business offerings. But in our case, we were very particular about when and what we acquired to really align with what the demands of the customer were in the future, and to offer them a full suite of capabilities. So it really comes down to offering them solutions for problems, and maybe identifying problems before they know they have them, and solutions before they realize they need them. This company right now, for me, it's an exciting time for us. I think we're perfectly shaped, sized to go forward and to maintain the quality we've had in this company, which is really our hallmark, but the high quality, affordable readiness that we're going to provide for the customer going forward. So exciting times for us. And for us, it's really, as we've always done, getting in there with the customer, listening to what they need, tailoring the solutions for what they need, and providing them for them. And now we can do that across the board, from inception all the way through retirement of a system.
All right. And is your integration with the acquisition coming along apace?
It absolutely is. There were a carve out, so those are always challenging. But we were a carve out from L3 several years ago, so we know how to do this, and it's going very well. We're very fortunate. Raytheon trains people very well. We have some very highly skilled engineers, highly motivated, and we as a team are looking forward to the new year.
My guest today is Ed Boyington. He's the president and CEO of Vertex. I'm Tom Temin. This discussion is new life cycle sustainment and training options for the DoD, sponsored by Vertex here on Federal News Network.